And here, Magnus Carlsen comes. Hans Niemann in a very nice flowery shirt. And Magnus will make the first move. We know Hans Niemann has a chessball course coming out, the Joe Vava London. Should Magnus then not play that opening?
Yeah, Magnus has not played 1d4, which might lead towards the Jababa London system. Instead, we see a king's pawn opening from the world champion, and it's the Spanish. So Hans Niemann just reacting very solidly with black. 1e4, e5, locking things up. White is the first to castle the king, but play will start to revolve around the center of the board. Hans Niemann, okay, he takes a deep breath. What is he going to do here? Usually we see black develop the dark square bishop out. There's a couple of squares you could choose. Black could push a pawn. Black can even capture white pawn in the center of the board with the black knight. And he does that. One of the most ambitious options. We call this the open Spanish because things tend to open up very quickly. So black temporarily is a pawn up, but if you look at black's king, it's in the middle. It needs to get castled, so black is happy to give back a pawn in order to catch up with piece development. This is still very well known stuff so far.
I have a question actually, because we always talk about taking center, and that black knight, is that taking center since it's in the center, or is it not taking center because it's basically not aiming at any of the squares in the center?
That's a good question actually.
Thank you.
I've never thought of it like that. Yeah, black's knight here, it's been very ambitious. It's grabbed a pawn and it is actually supported by black's central pawn. But then again, it could be a target for white's pieces. So I think it comes with pros and cons. It could be what we call an octo knight, just controlling 8 squares, a really powerful piece, or black's knight in the center of the board could just get traded off. I'm expecting to see maybe Magnus at some point over the next move or two bring out his knight, the knight that's asleep on the left side, and challenge black's knight in the center. It's just too strong.
Yeah.
So, okay, he's just pushed a pawn first. This is still very standard as well. And now Hans Niemann will develop his dark square bishop, most likely.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have realised about this particular line that Hans Niemann has played is it's quite forcing. I mean, there's a
dominating quarter encounters from 2006, 2007 till 2009, and then suddenly Magnus started catching up. Yeah, that's and I think by now we are like 50%. But we only played 9 the Legends. Yeah, in 1.5 years ago in this very special edition of the very first Magnus Tour, the Legends, and we had an incredible fight, but Magnus finally won 2.5, 1.5. But it's always very special to play against Magnus, and now we are faced with this deal word variation, right? This is the English variation, the deal word Gambit. This knight takes f2. Let's go back and let's just show very quickly what we are talking about. Yeah, this c3, bishop c5, knight d2 castles, bishop c2. Knight takes f2, takes f6 is the old deal, or maybe you know more. You can better explain the history behind it.
Of course, I mean I know this variation, and actually I've met the creator of this variation many years ago.
but he's still fighting, he's still creating counterplay. So this black rook on an open file, it actually threatens a deadly check. If black has a move to bring it down to the bottom of the board, trap white's king on the back rank. But unfortunately, Magnus spots that idea and going to grab a pawn, he's created also, meanwhile, an escape route for the white king. And suddenly, white has an extra pawn. Earlier, black had a whole army of pawns, but now they're starting to fall, and white's king dancing away from the checks. Even if the black rook goes and grabs 1 or 2 pawns, the bishops will pick up even more pawns in the process.
Yeah, I think all that Hans will grab is 1 pawn. Magnus won't allow him to grab anything else.
Yeah, so bit sneaky from Magnus Carlsen. If black's rook actually comes up on the b file and captures the pawn 2 squares in front of it, then the white dance square bishop, will drop back with a check and a double attack. You have to keep your rook and king as far away apart from each other, otherwise the bishops might trap that rook. So
yeah,
it's looking like not much chance anymore. White's bishop in the center of the board, also hitting a pawn on the other flank.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. Just a really unlucky scenario for Hans Niemann. Makes 1 mistake and
So
everything
crucial.
goes wrong. And all his pieces are in the most unfortunate squares and just no way out. And yeah,
Pieces as well now.
yeah.
But in that moment, so Hans Niemann, I don't know if we should call it a blunder, an inaccuracy, but how impressed are you with Magnus finding that plan and Magnus's play in this game?
I'm highly impressed, to be honest. I mean, firstly, he looks super focused, which hasn't always been the case in the prelims, but secondly, even after he got that chance, he's been ruthless.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually traded off everything, the queens, the rooks, pawns, just to make it as safe as possible, and he's still got this advantage of 2 bishops against 1 lone rook. So yeah, Magnus, actually, if we analyse this, he's probably played a perfect game.
Wow.
I don't think we can fault any of his moves. And meanwhile, Hans has tried. He's only actually made 1 mistake, Hans, but at this top level, that's all it takes.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are different types of mistakes. You have your slight inaccuracies where the game evaluation doesn't change that much. You have blunders where you kind of your opponent has the initial